Just gonna scoop them up from the back. 10, 12, and 20 stitches. And so I'm gonna start knitting this around. Now we're joined up. Now that we have a little bit to work with here, we're going to start doing the holes for the drawstring around the top. So we're going to start with a band of purled stitches. To create the holes for the drawstring, so we're going to do a knit two together, and we're going to do a yarn over. So basically, every time we knit two together, we're going to get rid of a stitch. Every time we yarn over, we're going to add it back in, but that yarn over is going to make a hole. When you get to your last two stitches on your needle, you're going to knit them together, and then you're going to have to do a yarn over that's just going to sit there. Nothing's going to hold that on the needle. So switching to your next needle after doing a yarn over, it's just gone over the top of this needle and I'm holding it behind so I can pick it up again right there. So we finished that row of knit two together and yarn over, and now we're just going to do another band of purls all the way around. So there you go. Now we have the holes for our drawstrings. We're going to just knit another 4 rows, I think it is. I'll have to double check my pattern. I tend to do everything that way. And then we'll start working on the actual snowflake pattern, which is when it gets fun, right? It is always easier for me to follow a pattern when I understand what it's supposed to look like, if I can get a visual of it. So the basic structure is that we are going to use those yarn overs to make a row of holes going straight through the middle, and then there will also be essentially an X going through it. So we'll have this slanted line coming down at the top and up from the bottom. When we do those knit two togethers, when you it will make our stitches slant towards the right because we're knitting them together that way. So when we have our slant going the other direction, we want them to slant towards the left to kind of stay out of the way of that hole. And so for those stitches, we'll do a slip slip knit. The whole design of the snowflake is going to happen on the needle with the 20 stitches on it. So I did my 2 short needles and now I'm on my long needle and I'm gonna do 9 stitches. Doing our knit 2 together for stitches 10 and 11. And then a yarn over replaces that 11th stitch. And then I go around. And in this pattern, every other row is just knits. So I did that 1 yarn over, and now I'm gonna knit all the way around, just knits. And when I come back to it for my 3rd row, that's when I do another yarn over. Back around again. We're going to do that yarn over again on the 11th stitch. And a yarn over. You can see that first one there. Second one's going right on top of it. And then our yarn overs, we will do 1 just on either side to make a little cross piece on the top, the very top of our snowflake. I'm counting my rows from the beginning of this snowflake pattern rather than my cast on. So when I talk about row number 1, I'm talking about the row with our very first yarn over at the top of our snowflake. Fun fact, I wrote most of this pattern at a McDonald's while my kids were playing at the play place because it was so stinking cold and they were going crazy. My crunchy meter, it's all over the place. I'm knitting a tiny bag for homemade soap while sitting at McDonald's. Row 7. This is the row where we make our little cross piece at the top before we start the X. So instead of doing a yarn over on stitch 11, we're going to do one on stitch 10 and on stitch 12. And then we'll do a slip slip knit after our second yarn over. So you can see those 3 and you can see where they've been. This is the stitch that has been the yarn over. So we're going to do these 2 next to it. That's 9 and 10. Now my yarn over is a stitch early. So I'm just going to knit stitch 11. I'm going to do another yarn over for stitch 12. And this is our slip slip knit. But you can see here how these slip slip knit stitches are grabbing this way, whereas the knit 2 together are going over this way. This is row 11 and the beginning of our X. So we get 3 yarn overs on stitches 6, 11, and 16. So 5 and 6 knitted together. So then our yarn over becomes number 6. 10 and 11 together. There's 11, 15. We yarn over 16 and the slip slip knit happens again. So we are scooping that up. Scoop, scoop, put them back, wrap, and through. That gives us 4 stitches between each yarn over. So we're going to do that 3 more times, and the yarn overs are going to get closer together every time. When we get to row 17, we're starting to get too close to the center to do all 3 of those yarn overs. So we're just going to do 2. We're going to do them on stitch 9 and 13. So now we are halfway through our snowflake pattern. The next row is just going to be the very center stitch, so we're just going to do that. And then we will start doing this X, working back again. Thought I was going to get through this project without having to rip anything out, and then I just had to rip out 2 rows, 4 rows till the end. But anyway, I just did my last yarn over row here. And now I'm going to start decreasing. So we're going to basically finish this off like the toe of a sock. It's just going to come down like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to decrease once at each corner. Here, here, there, there. So we will decrease 4 stitches for each row, and it's just going to be knitting around and around and around. Okay, so our first needle is the shortest one, right? It's the one with 10 stitches. So we are going to start that off with a slip slip knit because we want it to tip in this way towards the middle. Second needle, this is the one that we started out with 12 stitches. We're going to go to the end of that one, so we're going to knit 10. 1, 2, 3, 10. Here we are. We're going to knit these 2 together as well. But this is just a knit 2 together, not a slip slip knit, because we want it again to slant in this way toward the middle. Long needle, needle 3, we're going to slip slip knit, and we knit the last 2 together on the end of this needle, and then we just do it again. All right, so we did 4 rows of doing those 4 decreases on each row, and if you've done the math, you realize that we have 2 more stitches on the long needle than we do on the 2 back ones combined, right? So on this last row, we are going to do the decreases on the 2 short needles, but not the long needle, and it'll give us 12 stitches in the front and 12 stitches in the back. So binding off, we are going to put our needles all together like this, so it's basically laying flat. We're going to try and get the camera to focus. There we go. And we're going to knit through both the front and the back at the same time. So we're going to knit both of those. We have 1 stitch now. We're going to do the next stitch, and then we're going to pass the first stitch over the second and slip it off. Now we're back down to 1 stitch. Do that again. Through the front and back, knitting both of those together, 2 stitches, pull it over. Look at that, I even did my math right. We're gonna be even. Man, it's a good day when my brain can do simple subtraction. Okay, so this is our last stitch. I'm just going to pass the whole ball through here, pull it tight. We will trim that off. Look at that. Now all we have to do is make a drawstring. You could do that with just a single piece of the yarn, or I braided together 3 just to make it a little bit thicker. There we go. Well, thanks for hanging out with me while I figure out a whole new world of camera angles. Knitting is not exactly the same as baking. I'll write out the pattern in the description and put a link to the chart for the snowflake as well. Let me know if you give it a try. I have one of these in my shower. I've been using it for about a month now and I really love it. So I'm excited to do up some of these for some Christmas gifts. I didn't do this all in one evening, but I could have if I wasn't trying to move my camera around and everything. So it comes together really quick. It is a fun, simple, cheap, cute little craft to do. There we go.